Welcome to another episode of People Pod. I want you to imagine something for a second.
Okay.
Imagine achieving like the absolute undeniable peak of your career. You've just released your most critically acclaimed work to date. You're on top of the world.
Right. Everything is perfect.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then within a matter of mere weeks, your personal life just completely shatters.
Oh, wow.
And it doesn't just shatter in private, it shatters in the most public way possible. Every camera is pointed at you and every headline is dissecting your pain.
Which is, an absolute nightmare scenario.
It really is.
Yeah.
So how do you respond to that? Well, if you are pop superstar Ariana Grande in late 2018, you don't issue some carefully crafted PR statement.
No, you definitely go.
You throw out the entire music industry rulebook, you lock yourself in a recording studio with champagne and your closest friends, and you create a record-breaking masterpiece in just a matter of days.
Which is still hard to believe.
It is. Okay, let's unpack this because the sheer speed and the immense emotional weight of today's deep dive into the album Thank You Next it's unlike almost anything else in modern pop history.
It truly stands as a singular moment in time. We are looking at her fifth studio album, Thank You Next, which was released in February of 2019.
Right.
But to really understand it, we have to look past the charts and see what this album actually represents.
That it's not just a standard pop album.
Not at all. It is a raw, real-time snapshot of grief, of denial, and ultimately of self-empowerment.
Yeah.
And it fundamentally changed the mechanics of how female pop artists release music. It broke massive commercial records, including tying a historic 1964 Beatles chart record.
The Beatles! That's insane!
It is. It's a project entirely suffused with the pain and the joy of someone discovering that what didn't break her actually became the foundation for her survival.
Right. And just to put the timeline of this into perspective for you listening, releasing this album only 5 months and 22 days after her previous album?
Which is just a crazy turnaround.
It's like running an agonizing, grueling marathon, crossing the finish line, and immediately deciding to run a full-speed sprint.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
That simply isn't done in the major label pop machine. Usually an album rollout is this, 18-month, heavily guarded corporate endeavor.
The standard pop rollout is practically a military operation.
Right.
To grasp the gravity of this pivot, we really need to ground ourselves in the timeline of fall 2018. Grande had just released her critically acclaimed album Sweetener in August.
Just a few months prior.
Exactly. Her label, Republic Records, was prepping this massive traditional global rollout. They were getting ready to release a track called BrownThe as the third single.
Okay, so the machine is in motion.
The machine was in full motion. We're talking music videos, magazine covers, highly choreographed television appearances. But then tragedy struck.
Yeah.
In early September, her ex-boyfriend and longtime friend, the rapper Mac Miller, died of an accidental drug overdose.
Which, that level of sudden loss is hard enough to process in a quiet room, let alone with millions of eyes dissecting your grief.
It's unimaginable. The label abruptly postponed their promotional endeavors, and Grande took a very necessary hiatus from the media to mourn.
Naturally.
But the personal turmoil didn't stop there.
Yeah.
By October, her highly publicized whirlwind 5-month engagement to comedian Pete Davidson ended.
Right.
So within a brutal 2-month span, she experienced a profound, irreversible loss and a major, incredibly public breakup.
You would expect someone in that position to just vanish for a year, retreat, heal, and maybe come back when the dust has settled.
Which is what most people do.
But she doesn't retreat.
No, she doesn't. What's fascinating here is how she channeled that devastation into a complete rejection of the standard pop promo cycle.
How so?
She became deeply frustrated by the music industry's double standard. Historically, the system was built so that female pop stars had to deliver these highly visual, conceptual eras.
Oh, like learning the choreography, teasing the new look for months?
Exactly, exhaustive press tours. Meanwhile, she pointed out that male rappers operating in the mixtape culture could just drop music spontaneously on SoundCloud or streaming platforms whenever they felt inspired.
So they didn't have to wait 18 months.
Right. She actually said, I just want to fucking talk to my fans and sing and write music and drop it the way these boys do.
Wow.
She was tired of the rules dictating how women in pop were allowed to share their art, so she broke them.
I want to pause on that because that is a massive structural shift.
He really is.
She's basically looking at this archaic corporate structure that says, women must be polished, packaged, and patient, and she just rejects it outright.
Completely.
Less than 2 months after Sweetener came out, she bypasses the executives and heads straight into the studio.
Yeah, the bulk of the recording took place at Jungle City Studios in New York City, with some additional sessions in L.A., Stockholm, and London.
Okay.
But the most crucial detail isn't where they were, it's who was in that room. The fallout of Miller's death completely influenced her choice of collaborators.
She didn't want strangers around.
Exactly. She didn't surround herself with A&R executives or, people trying to manufacture a radio hit. She assembled a tight-knit production team of her closest friends and longtime collaborators.
People she actually trusted.
People like Victoria Monet, Tommy Brown, Max Martin, Taylor Parks, and Ilya Salmanzadeh.
Wait, I need to push back on this timeline for a second.
Sure.
You're telling me an album that scored universal acclaim and dominated global charts was basically written in the time it takes most of us to answer a backlog of work emails?
That's exactly what I'm telling you.
We're talking about 9 songs written in a week and most of the recording done in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
How on earth did it not end up sounding like a chaotic, unlistenable mess? Raw emotion usually makes art completely disorganized, not a tightly produced Billboard hit. Who is editing this?
Well, the mechanism that prevented this from becoming just a messy, unlistable diary entry was the caliber of people she trusted in that room.
Okay, that makes sense.
When you have someone like Max Martin, who's essentially a pop music mathematician, and Tommy Brown structuring the sessions, they provide the architectural support.
So they handle the structure while she handles the feeling.
Exactly. They allowed Grande to pour out pure, unfiltered emotion without having to worry about the scaffolding.
Right.
There was no time to overthink, no time to overpolish the feelings.
Just raw output.
Right. The sessions were fueled by raw grief and, quite literally, by Veuve Clicquot champagne, which they kept flowing in the studio.
Which is such a wild detail.
It is. And she actually references it later in a standalone track called Monopoly.
So it's like they completely bypass the corporate water filtration system.
Yeah.
Usually a pop song goes through 20 different executives who sanitize it, give notes, and water it down until it's safe.
Right, they smooth off all the edges.
But by doing it in 2 weeks, the label simply didn't have time to dilute the water. The fans got it straight from the tap.
That is the perfect way to look at it.
Yeah.
Because she was surrounded by this trusted, intimate group, she felt safe enough to be completely honest.
And we can really hear that.
Oh, absolutely. We can hear exactly how that vulnerability sounds on the record because the tracks are incredibly heavy, even when they're disguised as club hits.
Right.
The album is primarily pop, R&B, and trap, heavily leaning on hip-hop influences. Take the 5th track, Fake Smile.
Okay.
It's this hip-hop, soul-inspired track built on a trap groove.
And for you listening, if you aren't familiar with the term trap groove, think of that specific modern hip-hop sound.
Yeah, those rapid-fire hi-hats.
Exactly, those skittering hi-hat cymbals paired with a really heavy, booming bass underneath. It's a very aggressive driving sound.
Right, and the contrast there is brilliant. You have this aggressive driving beat, but lyrically, it is incredibly heavy.
What is she talking about on that track?
She is directly addressing the emotional toll of the 2017 Manchester concert attack and Mac Miller's death. She's literally telling the world that she is refusing to fake a smile anymore for the cameras or the critics.
It's a stark juxtaposition. You're nodding your head to the rhythm, but if you listen to the words, she's talking about profound, suffocating trauma.
That emotional contrast really peaks on the 8th track, Ghostin.
Oh, yeah.
This is undoubtedly the emotional climax of the entire album. It is an art pop synth and strings ballad, and it actually took the longest to develop of any song on the record.
Why is that?
Lyrically, it is just devastating. She is singing about the guilt and the pain of grieving one ex-Miller while trying desperately not to hurt the patient, understanding person she is currently with, which was Davidson.
I can't even imagine the courage it takes to take a feeling that unresolved, that deeply personal, and put it into a pop song for millions of strangers to dissect.
The vulnerability was almost too much for her to handle, actually.
Right.
Yeah. Grande found the creation of Ghostin so difficult and the final product so raw that she actually begged her manager, Scooter Braun, to take it off the track list.
No way.
She thought it was simply too painful to share with the public. But he convinced her to keep it, arguing that its honesty was exactly why it needed to be heard.
And he was right.
He was. Today, it stands as one of the most acclaimed tracks of her entire career.
So, what does this all mean? When you look at the defiance of Fake Smile and the sheer devastation of Ghostin, you realize she is completely stripping away that untouchable, flawless diva persona that mainstream pop relies on.
Right, the armor is gone.
She wasn't just giving her fans a catchy chorus, she was forging a totally new, intimate relationship with her listeners. She's telling them, I am broken, I am messy, I am grieving, and I'm not going to hide it behind a perfectly choreographed PR smile.
She owns all her flaws and contradictions, and that authenticity is what critics resonated with. For sure. We see that on tracks like Needy, which uses this metronome-like synth to mimic a ticking clock, where she openly admits her suffocating insecurities in relationships.
Right.
Or Bad Idea, an EDM and trap number, where she frankly discusses her desire to just numb her pain through reckless behavior.
Which is such a real human reaction to grief.
Exactly. Rob Sheffield from Rolling Stone perfectly captured this when he noted that the album is about a woman taking her mood out for a drive until she pedals it right off a cliff.
That is a phenomenal visual. But grief isn't just crying in a dark room, right?
No, not always.
Sometimes grief is manic, sometimes it's dark humor. And the album reflects that too, because she infused these tracks with incredibly quirky, deeply personal Easter eggs that delighted her fans.
Yeah, she peppered the album with these intimate audio touches that make it feel like you just stumbled upon her audio diary.
Like what?
For instance, the third track, NASA, which is a bouncy R&B tune, features a spoken intro by the American drag queen Shangela.
Oh, I love that part.
She says, "One small step for woman, one giant leap for womankind."
That is such a specific, layered, artistic choice. She's taking one of the most famous, historically male-dominated quotes in human history, the moon landing, and she's flipping the gender using the voice of queer club culture.
Right.
It's a subtle way of claiming space.
It sets the tone perfectly, and she keeps pulling from her personal life. On the fourth track, Bloodline, which has this reggae pop vibe with brassy horns, she opens the song with an actual soundbite of her own grandmother, Marjorie.
Just casually talking about her hearing aid.
Exactly. Then, the ninth track, In My Head, begins with a voicemail left by her close friend Doug Middlebrook.
It really creates this illusion that you're just sitting on a couch in Jungle City Studios with her and her friends, listening to voice memos on a phone.
It's extremely intimate.
And clearly the fans felt that exact connection because the commercial performance of this album is just staggering.
Unbelievable numbers. When Thank You next dropped on February 8, 2019, the numbers defied all industry expectations. It debuted at #1 on the U.S. Billboard 200, earning 360,000 album equivalent units in its opening week.
Let's quickly clarify that metric for you listening, because album equivalent units is a very modern music industry term.
Yeah, it can be confusing.
In the old days, you just counted how many physical CDs were bought at a store. But in the streaming era, Billboard had to create a formula to calculate how many Spotify or Apple Music streams equal one traditional album sale.
Right.
So when we say 360,000 units, that represents a colossal amount of pure streaming consumption.
To put an exact number on that consumption, the tracks collected a total of 307 million on-demand audio streams in just week 1.
Wow.
That was the largest streaming week ever for a pop album and for a female artist at the time. All 12 of the album's tracks entered the Hot 100 simultaneously.
But there's a bigger record, right?
Yes. The ultimate historic milestone came when Grande became the first artist since the Beatles in 1964 to hold the top 3 spots on the Billboard Hot 100 simultaneously.
That is legendary.
She held #1 with 7 Rings, #2 with Break Up With Your Girlfriend, I'm Bored, and #3 with Thank You, Next.
Here's where it gets really interesting. The cultural footprint of this album wasn't just in the Billboard charts or the rough streaming data. It literally infiltrated the syntax of how we communicate on the internet.
It really did.
The title track, Thank You, Next, which she actually released completely unannounced back in November 2018 as a surprise lead single, spawned a massive internet meme format.
The lyric structure itself was practically designed to go viral.
Exactly. The pre-chorus goes, one taught me love, one taught me patience, and one taught me pain.
Right.
She was talking about her exes, but the syntactic structure of that phrase is a perfect fill-in-the-blank template. It's built for Twitter.
People used it for everything.
Yes. People started using that exact lyrical rhythm to describe everything from their past jobs to characters in their favorite movies to fast food restaurants. She didn't just write a song, she wrote a cultural slogan that people used to process their own lives.
And the music video capitalized on that cultural moment beautifully. becoming the fastest video to reach 100 million views on YouTube at the time.
Of course.
But, as with any colossal history-making success, it wasn't without its controversies. When you command that much attention, you invite intense scrutiny.
Right. The bigger the target, the more arrows you catch. And to me, the track 7 Rings acted as a massive lightning rod for this album.
It definitely was.
It's the most hip-hop leaning song on the record. It's got this heavy, booming bass, and she's basically rapping about how her immense wealth and global success allow her to buy whatever she wants for herself and her friends.
Right. It's very braggadocious.
It's retail therapy as a trauma response.
Right.
Because it was so bold, it drew incredible energy and debuted at #1, but it also attracted direct strikes of controversy.
The controversy stems directly from the musical mechanics of the song. Seven Wings heavily interpolates portions of the classic Rodgers and Hammerstein song, My Favorite Things from The Sound of Music.
And just to clarify interpolation for the listener, it's different from sampling.
Yes, very different.
A sample is when you take the actual original audio recording of a song and copy-paste it into your new track. Interpolation is when you re-record the melody or the lyrics yourself.
Right.
So she didn't use Julie Andrews' voice. She sang the famous melody of My Favorite Things herself, but changed the lyrics to be about buying diamonds and matching tattoos and placed it over a trap pop beat.
Exactly. And while the Rodgers and Hammerstein estate cleared that interpolation and took a massive percentage of the royalties, other artists felt their uncredited work was being used.
Oh, okay.
The song faced heavy criticism and plagiarism accusations. The most prominent came from the rapper Princess Nokia, who publicly accused Grande of stealing the specific sound, flow, and lyrical themes from her song Mine.
And as we always navigate on this show, we aren't here to play a jury and decide the legalities of who created what flow. We are looking at the very real cultural conversation that this conflict sparked.
This raises an important question, and it's one that music critics really grappled with during the album's release, which is the messy reality of pop stars borrowing from hip-hop and trap music.
Yeah.
The entire sonic landscape of Thank You Next heavily leans on black music traditions, R&B, trap grooves, dance hall rhythms.
Right.
So when a track like Seven Rings dropped, it sparked a highly complex, necessary conversation about cultural appropriation.
Yeah.
Where is the line between appreciation, homage, and borrowing in the modern pop landscape, especially when a white pop star is utilizing the aesthetics of hip-hop to achieve historic commercial success?
It's a crucial dialogue, and it proves just how much cultural weight this album carried. It wasn't just a collection of catchy hooks floating in a vacuum. It was pushing buttons, forcing dialogues, and reflecting the complexities of the industry.
Absolutely.
And the chaos of the release wasn't just external. The internal process was in flux right up to the very last second, wasn't it?
Yeah. The track list was constantly shifting. The final track on the album, Break Up With Your Girlfriend, I'm Bored, which notably samples a classic NSYNC song, was a very late addition.
Oh, really?
Grande revealed on social media that it actually replaced a track titled Remember. At the 11th hour, she decided that Remember was simply too personal and too painful to share with the world.
I mean, considering Ghostin is on there, Remember must have been devastating.
Exactly. So she swapped it out for something a bit more fun, detached, and braggadocious to close out the record.
Which makes total sense when you remember the emotional tightrope she was walking. She's already giving the public Ghostin. She's already giving them fake smile. At a certain point, you have to protect a piece of your own heart, or you'll have absolutely nothing left for yourself.
You need a breather.
You need a song where you can just roll your eyes and have fun.
Even with those self-imposed boundaries, critics overwhelmingly recognize the album's depth. It holds an 86 on Metacritic, indicating universal acclaim.
Wow.
Publications like Billboard and Rolling Stone ranked it as the #1 best album of 2019. It earned multiple Grammy nominations, including Album of the Year, and went double platinum in the U.S. The scale of its triumphs is undeniable.
It truly is. You know, we started this deep dive by talking about the absolute lowest point in a person's life and how they choose to respond when the world is watching them bleed.
Yeah.
Thank you. Next wasn't just a collection of songs designed by a boardroom to top the charts. From everything we've unpacked, it was a vital survival mechanism.
It was a lifeline.
She took the darkest, most chaotic period of her life and used it to completely shatter the rigid, archaic standard of how women in pop are supposed to behave. She bypassed the corporate rollout, she dropped the polite PR smile, and she just spoke directly to the people who cared about her art.
And in doing so, she found a way to heal. She said it herself in interviews. Walking to the studio every day and making this music with her closest friends saved her life.
That's incredibly powerful.
It's a profound testament to the power of artistic expression in the face of immense grief. She proved that true vulnerability, even when it's rushed, messy, and fueled by champagne, will always resonate far more deeply with human beings than manufactured, heavily filtered perfection.
It leaves you with something pretty major to chew on.
Yeah.
When you look at the landscape of the music industry today, you have to wonder, does true artistic freedom in the pop machine only happen after the traditional promotional model completely breaks down under the crushing weight of real life?
That's a great question.
Or did Ariana Grande just write the new blueprint for the future of the music industry, proving once and for all that raw authenticity will always outstream the corporate algorithm?
I think we're still seeing the ripples of that today.
It's definitely something to think about the next time you hear that trap beat drop on the radio.
Thanks for listening to PPL Pod. Keep tuning in for more stories worth knowing.